The post office did a campaign at one time, Mark, to encourage people to write letters and send these letters by mail. Old fashioned, right? The old fashioned way to communicate, write a letter to someone you love, put a stamp on it, and drop it in the mailbox. Unfortunately, because the post office actually loses money on every letter sent, that letter writing campaign, the success of it cost the post office $19 million in losses, right?
Makes
So the United States Post Office lost $69 billion in 11 years. FedEx is somehow profitable, right? Maybe there was a need for government to be involved in that. Should we be out of the postal business today? Should we
That's a
just,
good question,
you
and
know,
I
should,
ponder that myself, Bill, and
yeah.
it's one of the few things that's actually articulated in the Constitution and with Postal Service. It's something, quite frankly, I would not like to see go away, but more than that, I would like to see run efficiently. Look, I enjoy it. I just sent a letter a couple of days ago to somebody. I put a stamp on there. I went actually to the post office to drop it. I actually go to the post office. Call me weird,
Mhm.
especially here in Florida where I live. It's pretty rural. It's a really good experience,
Hmm.
unlike where I came from in California. I actually enjoy it. People here are nice. It's not really a matter of, in my opinion, necessity or function. It's a matter of management. I just think that because it's a federal entity, it's managed poorly. When you look at government, they're almost always run less efficiently than private sector entities
Yeah.
because private sector has to make a profit in order to exist or file bankruptcy. And that's not true. Government agencies don't file bankruptcy. They get more money from
Yeah.
taxpayers.
Yeah.
So I think that if that onus was put on federal agencies or local agencies, state agencies, if we actually had people in place and there's oversight that really wanted to make these entities work efficiently, effectively, I think they would work fine. It's not a result of it's the post office. It's a result of it not being run properly.
Mhm.
That's the problem. Not being competitive with the private sector. So we see it in our public schools. They know their guaranteed existence, federal and state funding. They don't have to compete. They can be as crappy as they want. In LA Unified School District, prime example, one of the worst track records we can imagine in the last probably 30 years in public education, and they still get more and more money. I think I could be wrong on this. I believe under California state constitution, and please fact check me, I could be wrong, but I believe that the state constitution requires 50% of the state budget to go to public education. It
Hmm.
requires it by constitution, state
Hmm.
constitution, no matter what they're doing. There's no caveat in there. There's no, unless you do this or you have to do that. There's none of that in there. It just says it has to get 50% of the state budget, which I don't know, it's well over $200 billion now. And the public schools in total are still doing horrible in California. Why? Because it's guaranteed income for them and they don't have to perform.
Yeah.
Same thing with the postal service, unfortunately.
I saw an interview of Elon Musk where, and I don't remember the exact quote, but the question was something to the effect of they cut the workforce by 80%, something to that, something
Yes.
close to that number. How is
Yes.
the company still able to function when they cut the workforce by 80%? And his answer was something to the effect of, you'd be surprised if you're just focusing on the core mission and not running a censorship platform or something like that. You'd be surprised what it actually takes to run the company. The federal government could probably reduce the workforce by a huge percentage and really see no impact in day-to-day performance of duties. And that's anybody that works for the federal government, if you ask them, will candidly will tell you that. It's not for profit, and there's really accountability is not what it is in the private sector, and it's not as efficient.
I think
It's time to I think it's time to privatize big chunks of it and let a private company take a crack at it and see if they can turn it around. When you've lost billions of dollars every year that you've been in existence, or $69 billion in 11 years for the post office, maybe it's time to turn it over.